Alan, welcome, and thank you for speaking with us today. Before we start, please give us a few minutes on your background.
Sure. I'm very happy to be speaking with you today, first of all. Thank you for the opportunity. And I've been in the restructuring consulting business for about 32 years now. The past 15 with AlixPartners, which is a global consulting firm focused on helping companies when it really matters. We have over 25 offices around the world. And what I do at AlixPartners is a mix of helping companies, large companies, with their operational and financial challenges. And that tends to be either as a chief restructuring officer or as a company advisor. Some of my past work has included representing constituencies with companies like Enron, Chicago Tribune, more recently FTD, the flower delivery company.
Well, thank you, Alan. So the first question is, let's talk about the CRO role. What exactly is the Chief Restructuring Officer, and how do you help your clients?
Yeah, chief restructuring officer is literally an officer of our client, and we are brought in to supplement the existing management team and to play a role that is not within the core competencies, generally speaking, of the management team. When a company is in financial trouble, or in many cases operational trouble, they will bring in the outside expertise of a chief restructuring officer, and we will work alongside of them and focus specifically on the turnaround. It's not independent of management. We have to work together as a team. And it's not a sign of weakness for management. It's actually generally received as a positive sign that they understand when they need the additional expertise, that they can remain focused on running the business within their core competency, and that they've brought in a party who can be viewed a little bit more independently, a little bit more objective, and certainly as an expert to help them through their crisis. So we bring a lot of credibility to the situation, a lot of expertise. The creditors and other constituents generally will find it easier to work with us than with the management team, where they've got longer relationships. And maybe through times of stress, those relationships haven't been as strong. It is very comforting to the creditors and is very helpful to the management team when we come in to assist in this way.
What types of restructuring cases have you been primarily working on in the last 6 months? And even more importantly, what do you see around the corner?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, COVID is a crisis, of course, of global proportions, and really a terrible situation. But at AlixPartners, we are crisis managers, and so we are used to coming into situations that require the particular expertise when, as we say, when it really matters. And there's no time like the existing one to use that expertise and help our clients. So we've seen at the beginning of the pandemic that there were lots of companies that were already in financial distress. And they were generally in two sectors, generally in oil and gas and in retail. And fully 44% of the companies that have filed bankruptcy during 2020 have been in these two sectors. And at the beginning of the COVID crisis, we saw many of them that were already teetering fall into Chapter 11, and we've been able to help them work their way through that process. And so that's what I would call wave one, those that were already on the brink. And that had us very busy, had the whole restructuring industry very busy for the first part of the pandemic crisis here. We then saw a bit of a slowdown, and this is across the restructuring industry, because the government intervention and forbearance by creditors and landlords has really, helped the businesses remain somewhat stable if they were about to be affected by COVID. But this can't remain forever. And so wave two has begun. And that includes companies that are directly affected by all of us being at home, by the fact that we can't travel for business, we can't travel for personal time, and vacations have been canceled. So companies in the travel and leisure business have been severely affected, as we can imagine, and directly affected. And so the airlines, the cruise companies, hotels, the larger restaurant chains, even those that weren't having trouble before, this is sort of wave two that we're getting into now and finding a lot of business in this sector. So that's where the restructuring business is starting to pick up again after that first wave worked its way through. And I think around the corner, what we're going to see is wave three. And wave three is going to be a longer time period. It's going to be the impact of general economic weakness around the world that's been caused by the pandemic. And that's going to touch on all the sectors, not just retail, not just the sectors that are directly hit by COVID, but every part of the economy that is going to be hurt by general economic weakness. And it's going to take a while to work its way through the system. So that's what I would expect to see as restructuring activity picks up. And we're starting to see that in that next wave, what we'll call wave three.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. And we have seen some similar activity in recruiting. So during wave one, we had a lot of requests for either turnaround or restructuring consultant as well as advisory bankers. And then in wave two, things have come down, and we're waiting for a new wave here to come in on wave three. So very interesting.
But certainly, I just want to say it's certainly coming. And although we don't like to see trouble or distress, with our clients, we do like having the opportunity to help them, as I'm sure you see in your business as well.
Of course.
Yes.
Absolutely. So let's talk about something a little bit different. Let's talk about which innovation you all have come up during COVID-19 that you think is going to stay. Any best practices, lesson learned for your clients?
Absolutely. I think for our clients, for ourselves, and how we conduct business, we were forced to conduct business completely differently during COVID-19. As people know, in the consulting business, in the CRO business, companies like AlixPartners, we put our people on site, and we're known for being road warriors, for traveling 4 or 5 days a week, and being there helping our clients, hand in hand. And we never imagined we could do this without being on site. And necessity is the mother of invention. So when we weren't able to be there, we found ways to be just as effective helping our clients remotely. So I'd say this type of technology, the video conferencing technology, certainly an innovation we were moving towards already. We started when I was in the business 20 years ago. 30 years ago, every meeting had to be in person, and we would have bank meetings where 35 people would come in for the day and spend 4 hours in a room in New York. And we moved away from that, I'd say over the last 20 years into audio conferencing. Certainly that was a big step. And video conferencing, we've accelerated that by a few years. And we've proven that we could be just as effective in meetings by using tools like Zoom, and we use Microsoft Teams at AlixPartners. We really, this is an innovation that's here to stay. But I don't mean to suggest that it's going to replace being on site, being in the room together, because we miss that. And although we can deliver value to our clients without that, I think that once we are past the pandemic, when we have a vaccine, when it's safe to travel again, we're going to move back in that direction. And we're going to find a happy medium. I think an innovation will be we don't have to travel as much. That saves money for our clients. It creates more time for us personally and professionally to do the work. In fact, another innovation is that we can help a global client by working with them 24/7 if they're in a crisis. And those in our time zone spend 8 hours, and we hand it off to the next time zone, and they hand it off to the next time zone. So when you have a global business like us at AlixPartners and a global business like our clients, certainly there's a benefit to having these capabilities, and we don't all have to be in the room. But we do miss things. We do miss the brainstorming that happens when you sit, in front of a whiteboard all day long. We do miss being able to go down the hall and ask the CFO a question or have the CEO knock on our door. And so we'll find that balance. It's what we're calling a hybrid model, and that's what we expect to see. I'll also just point out that the bankruptcy courts have really adapted, and I think that they've innovated and we'll move towards more of this call-in model that's working very efficiently. And so again, I think it will save time and it will save costs. And we've learned that not everybody has to be in the room for the court hearings either. So that's certainly going to be an innovation. And so I think COVID has actually accelerated some of the innovation in our business. As much as it's been a terrible thing for the world, I like to think that good will come from it when we get through the crisis. And that's certainly what I'm imagining is going to happen.
Alan, thank you so much for your time today. We're very grateful and we look forward to speaking with you soon again.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure. I hope everybody stays safe and be well.